Okay, let's look at, now we're going to look at simplifying like terms where we're dividing by terms. So the main thing here is to remember the basics. Let's say we have 20 divided by 16. Well, 20 is 5 times 4, so we're looking for common factors, and 16 is 4 times 4. So you can see here, 4 is a common factor. 4 goes both into 20 and the 16, so we'll be left with, when we cancel those out, because remember the other key idea is that, you know, anything 10 divided by 10 is 1. That's what we mean by cancelling out. It just reduces to 1. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Negative 5 divided by negative 5, that's 1. So anything divided by itself is 1. So 4 divided by 4 here, 4 divided by 4 here is just going to reduce to 1. So normally you'll sometimes see people put a line through, they put a little line through, and they put the number 1 for what's left. So here, just left is 1. So we end up with 5, oops, I want to go back to black. 5 on 4 times by essentially 1 over 1, which of course is just 5 on 4. The other issue is powers. So if we have 3 to the power of 4 over 3 squared, just remember with powers, 3 to the power of 4 is it's going to be 3 repeated multiplication 4 times, so 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 over 3 times 3. Now based on my previous example, hopefully you go, oh well, I've got common factors. I can cancel that 3 out with that 3. There's one pair of common factors. I can cancel that one out, and again they just leave 1. So in the end what I'm left with is just simply, so we'll just revise that, is 3 times 3, which is 3 squared. You learned about indices rules earlier in the year. Okay, let's look at these examples. So division. We've got 12, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to divide these out. Hopefully most people will see straight away 12 divided by 4 is 3. If not, let me just write it out in full. I'll put the multiplication symbols in, and you'll see, well, 12 is 3 times 4 times x times y, and that's all over 4 times an x times a z. You can clearly see now, hopefully, that, oh well, there's a common factor of 4. So that cancels out and we're left with 3. The idea would be most people would say, well, 12 divided by 4 is 3 straight up. Is there any other common factors? There is. There's an x. X divided by x. So just like 10 divided by up here, you know, something divided by itself. So if you have the same variable dividing itself, x divided by x, yeah, I should write that up, shouldn't I? If you have top right corner, if you go x divided by x, it will also be 1, because when we use the same variable letter, we're talking about the same quantity. So x divided by x is going to be 1. So what we're left with here is simply, on the top we end up with 1 times y. All the terms cancel out. You don't have to put these ones in, I'm just putting them in. 1 times z. Normally most people will go straight away to this line and just write, well, what are you left with? 3 times y on the top over 1 times z, which is z. And so that's 3y and z. Okay, let's do the next one, b. Same process. Now the divide here, remember, we can rewrite it as a fraction. That's what I'm going to do. So when you have something divided by something, you can write it as a fraction. That's something over that's something. So I get negative 8ab squared over negative 16a squared b. Now again, negative 8 and negative 16, there is a common factor. The both divided by 8. So some people go straight ahead and go, well, what's negative 8 over negative 16? Right, there's lots of ways to think about it. Negative 8 over negative 16. Well, you've got a negative divided by negative, so that's the same as 8 on 16. Well, 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 16 twice. So 8/16 is just a half. Okay, so that's where we're going to end up. Then we've got an A, and on the bottom we've got an A squared, so I'm going to expand that out, and then on the top I'm just going to expand these out. I've got a B squared, and again that's over a B. Now let's get our red pen, cancel out like terms. One lot of B cancels out, one pair of A's cancels out, and I've already said, you know, this negative 8 here will cancel out this negative 8. So if you want to put in all the working, it's not necessary, but I'll put it in. Effectively what's happening now is we have that's cancelled out, so that leaves a 1. That's cancelled out, so that's a 1. And then the B's cancel out, that's a 1. And then we're left with a B. And then on the bottom, the numerator, we have a 2 times a 1. Then that A cancelled out, so that's a 1. And then we're left with an A, and then that's times by a 1. Most people will not put, I normally wouldn't put this line in, I just can work out in my head straight away and go, what's left after we cancel everything out? And we're left with, let's get my pen to work again, 1 times 1 times 1 times B, so that's B. 2 times 1 is 2 times 1 is 2 times A, so it's 2A times 1. And I don't really need that long line, but anyway, there it is. When I evaluate all that. So the final answer there is B on 2A. Cancel out all the common factors. Okay, let's go ahead and find an example. There's some examples here somewhere. Okay, here's a couple for you to try. I'm going to stop the video. I'll just highlight. Try these ones. Might try that one. These are not as complex, I don't think, as the ones we just did. So I'll put those ones. I'll stop the video. You have a go at them, and when you want to check your answers, turn the video back on, and you can watch my solution and check that you're doing it correctly. Check your understanding. Off you go. Have a go. Let's check the first one. You've got 5A over 10A. Hopefully you see there's a common factor of 5. 5 goes into 10 twice. That's one way of writing it. Times by the A, times by the A. And you see we've got a common factor of A as well. So we cancel out a pair of A's, we cancel out 5. And so the final answer is we get, essentially, we get 1 times 1 on the top over 2 times 1 times 1. And amazingly, what you get, the final answer is a half. Did you get that? Well done if you did. Okay, when you're ready, you can check the answer for the next one. I'll stop the video and stop the video now, try it, and when you're ready, play the video. Okay, you ready to check? Here we go. Hopefully you'll go. Now, I've been doing it a very long way, but I can look at this one straight away and I can expand it out. Hopefully you see, well, there's basically a factor of B. So if we just go, cancel out that, so you get A times 1, which is A, you get 4 times 1, which is 4. So then the final answer, we can just write up as A on 4. That's not too hard, is it? There you go, A on 4. You can think of this, just out of interest, you can think of this like being something like this. You can choose some numbers, so it's essentially saying like 3 times 5 over, keep the 4, and 5. All I'm doing here is I'm choosing different numbers. I've got the number 4 there, so I'm going to choose a number for the A, so I'll put 3. And then I've chosen a different number again because it's a different letter, B, and I'll put a 5. And you clearly see when you do that, they cancel out and you're left with 3/4. And now you go back to the original question, go, well, what did the 3 correspond to? Oh, the 3 corresponded to the 8. Okay, so essentially, so that's a way to link the concrete with the more abstract, or the algebraic form, the general form. Okay, now let's get, when you're ready, you can check your answer. Next one, after you have a go. Okay, with 21 and -3, so hopefully you go, oh well, 3 goes in the 21. Now we've just got -21 divided by 3. Remember that's negative. So we get, well, if I want to write it out, we get -7. And then times by P on Q. So the answer is simply -7 P on Q. Because the P and the Q here are different, they're not like terms, so we can't cancel. They don't have, they're different numbers. So again, I'll just write up here, essentially you've got something like this. When you have P on Q, you essentially got two numbers that are different, that have no common factors. So we just write that as P on Q. Okay, let's keep going. When you're ready, do the last one and then come back and check your answer. Let's check your answer. So what we've got here is -15, -20. Hopefully most people go, well, 5 goes into -15. I'll just write it here. That's -3. And 5 goes into, let's write very small here, is -4. So that first part, you're going to be left with -3 on -4.
It's such that if you read that part,
They have a common factor of 5, and then we've got z on top. And then z squared, I can write that out, expanded form. So the z squared can be written as z times z, and hopefully you go, oh well, there's a common factor there of.
the amazing thing is the hard thing is actually excellent because she can do it over a minute and then say, can I extrapolate that to 1 hour? It's so easy. And can I do it for inflow?
Okay, I was just recording in Blackboard, lost my connection. So the z cancels. Well, actually, let me write it out. So we get 3 times z over, and we divide the 20 by 5, so we get -4 times by z times by z. And now we can cancel out a term. There it is, we cancel out a z. Now, what's -3? Now, there's one final little thing here. You've got -3 divided by -4. So, effectively, you've got -1 divided by -1, which becomes positive. So, we can rewrite this as simply, I'll just write it over here. Some people might, a negative divided by a negative just produces a positive. So, -3 on -4 is just 3/4. So, we write it as the positive. We've cancelled a z out, so we're left with a z in the denominator. So the final answer there is 3 on 4z. Did you get that? Well done if you did. A little bit more tricky with the negative signs. Okay, off you go. Try exercise. I'll just have a look. So in the textbook, I'll just write up, try some more from exercise 3.4, I think it is. And question 5. Do some parts, don't do all of them. Question 5. Also question 9, which I mentioned before, the multiplication. So there's a couple to try. Okay, off you go. Up to you now. You go, have a go.